Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you the mix project session in Cubase for my latest song called Open Fire. Now this song is streaming everywhere, and if you're interested in seeing a live performance of the song, the description will have a link that will take you to that video where I perform this live here in my studio. So this is going to be a very crude walkthrough. We're going to listen through the song and I'll stop here and there to demonstrate some of the layers and some of the things that I've done in certain sections. I'll highlight this folder, which is titled Helix, and give some background because this is the first time that I've ever done this where all the guitar tones are wet recordings from the Helix LT that I recently purchased. And it has been an amazing workflow because oftentimes what I've done in the past prior to having the Helix, I would have to get basically all my guitar tones from in the box using like Neural DSP plugins, TuneTrack, or just any third-party plugins. And the point is that when I'm being creative and I'm looking for tones, it kind of takes away the creativity or the in-the-moment feeling when you have to go through plugins or click on this and click on that and sift through different presets, where versus on the Helix, you know, you're playing at all times, but you just go through the banks and you find something you like and you're like, oh, I like this. I just figured if I like something, I'm going to record it and I'm going to commit to that tone and I'm going to just keep moving forward. And honestly, it made the songwriting experience that much more entertaining, and it didn't take me down a road of just all these options that I have inside the box, and just committing and moving forward is the best thing that I could do for my songwriting. So let's just start with the song and I'll highlight some of the things here. So this is a little intro, and again, just the wet signal from the Helix. There's nothing much going on here. Some cutting the low end, a little bit of inserts in there, some EQ, some saturation, but this is pretty much 90% the actual tone itself. So these claps are actually me going in the microphone like because when I was feeling the whole wah tone and I was recording it, I had my microphone on and I was like, and once I finished recording, I realized that I had recorded my voice too, and so I just kept those ha's and I just added some compression, add some reverb, bounced it down, and then I gave it these swells, as you can see, these volume swells to kind of give it this swelling motion before it hits. So soloed out, this is how they sound. So with it, and then we go into the little pre-verse. I'm using Easy Bass for the bass, and I'm using Easy Drummer for the drums. I've done, you know, their own mixing within each particular instrument. I separate the low end via an EQ. I take everything below 200 hertz to really just focus on the sub frequencies. And then on another channel, I just take everything above 200, add some distortion, so I have control over the sub frequencies and I get to tailor the high end using that technique. So the bass with both channels are. And what I'm using for distortion is this Quadro Fuzz, which is a fuzz plugin that comes stock with Cubase, so nothing fancy. So without the actual fuzz itself, you can hear how clean the take is. And then with. So it makes it really dirty. And as far as the drums go, since Easy Drummer already comes pretty much mixed within its own right, very minimal. I did a little bit on the kick, added these plugins, which I won't go into depth. Added some things for the snare, but barely anything. And I think the only other thing that I even touched was the toms, which I just did some multiband compression, but these are pretty dry. So I'm all for things that don't require my attention too much and just allow me to be creative. But the drums by themselves sound like. I route the main aspects of the drums to one drum bus, and then I have a ton of inserts here that are only for one particular section, and they will activate. But when we get to that portion, I'll highlight some of the things that I've done. So from that section, we'll go into the first verse. So I have the verses on their own track, I have the chorus lines on their own track, and then I have all these additional like harmonies and stuff like that. So nothing is really going on within the first verse. But when the second vocal line kicks in, you get the second tone of the song, which is a clean tone from the helix. And again, it's completely wet. There is only EQ and no inserts, so I fully committed to this tone and it worked out perfectly fine sonic-wise. And just for transition purposes, I just added this little strumming part to kind of give a different feel leading up to the chorus. Which is... Now that goes into this group of guitars, which are all basically harmonizing with one another. The first main guitar that slides in, just straight up chords. Again, no inserts, just some EQ. And below that is this guitar that's panned to the left. I think we did some EQ moves here, just adding some high end. And I just harmonized that on the right side with a completely different guitar patch. But I think I'm actually taking away some of the high end to better suit this tone. But together they sound like... And with the chords... Now I did route these 3 guitar tracks into their group channel. And I did do some group processing together just to make them more cohesive, but nothing crazy, just a little bit of more EQ and some compression, but that's pretty much the sounds as they come from the helix, minus the small amounts of EQ that I've done on each. So for the vocals, I actually have something cool going on here where I have the chorus main line. Open fire. I have these side harmonies that are sung and matching the chorus. Open fire. And below that, I actually have something that I like to do from time to time where I MIDI out the chords of the chorus. I use this plugin called Ovox that allows me to, when I record a very monotone, I just speak the lyrics of the chorus basically. To the open fire. Now, I'm not trying to sing here, but I'm really just trying to get the sibilance and the accents of the phrasing of the chorus, because once I route this MIDI into this particular plugin, I can use this vocal line to kind of make this like a vocoder. And that sounds like this. Oh, no, it doesn't. I gotta unmute the MIDI. It sounds like this. Into the open fire. Into the open fire it will go. So with that combined with the side harmonies and the main chorus line, it sounds like... Into the open fire, into the open fire, it will go. And with everything. Into the open fire, reach another goal. And then we go back to that wah sound. So that leads us to this like verse that's altered, is the same chords that have been going on in the beginning of the song, but I just reintroduce it in a different way. So that sounds like... So that leads us to our first synth layer, which is this VST called Halion Sonic, and I use this VST like 99% of the time that I need any synth sounds. So that synth layer sounds like this. And what I mentioned earlier about there being some plugins in the drum bus that are activated in a portion of the song, well, it's for this section right here. So here's all the automation that I'm using for this particular section. This is how the drums sound prior that verse kicking in, and then you'll see how the tonality of the drums change once it does kick in. So drums are panned slightly to the left. Some filtering is going on to give it that like lo-fi sound. And I'm adding some distortion as well. And that just kind of gives this particular section its own vibe. Dice of chance are rolled to test your luck. We'll soon find out. Now, the bass is no longer playing here, and what I have taken up the low end is this 808 sound, which is this plugin called Sublab that for 808 sounds, it's honestly a go-to for me, and is really the only plugin that I use for any 808 type of low end. So we go from having a bass guitar to then having the 808 kick in. And the vocals are also edited in a way where they kind of match that lo-fi sound. Dice of chance are rolled to test your luck. We'll soon find out. And what I'm using is a slapback delay, just a very quick delay to give it that like feel like you're talking through a microphone. And then to get the lo-fi sound, I just use this Warble VST that is honestly perfect for anything lo-fi related. So without the VST, sounds like this. Roll to test your luck, we'll soon find. And with it, find out how easy. So in the background, I actually have these two left and right harmonies that I recorded when I was first writing the song, and I just kept them. And you actually hear some of the drums bleed through because I recorded them while I was having the song playing through the speakers. And then towards the end, when we get led into the other verse, I have this stack of vocal harmonies that I also bounced. And I just added some filtering to give it that blossoming and some widening as well, where, as you can see here, it goes from like mono, but then it blossoms out with all the other instruments. And that sounds like this. From there, we just get led into the second chorus. Which sonically is the exact same as the first time around. So the first layer that kicks in that section is this kind of like plucky sound. Then we get some support with a low end, kind of just thumps. Dun, dun, dun. While at the same time, we double these arps, but put it into a patch that's more like a pad. And that sounds like this. So it's more spacey. And those continue on for basically the majority of the section. So for percussion, I'm actually using Groove Agent, which is like a drum VST where you can input samples and tailor them. And I just got various types of percussion. Got the kick, got a snare, got some hi-hats, and that's basically it. And what I did here is I actually bounced down the audio of some of the hi-hats and I processed them differently, and just to kind of add some variance of percussion. So that sounds like this. So I ended up routing some like filters and some pitch shifting in there. And then I chopped it up and made like its own little pattern so that you have these little like chirps dancing around. As far as the vocals, I kept everything the same. I just added this one preset in Pro Q3 where it's like a phone preset and just gives that lo-fi quality to the vocal. Remember, you can't run away. And then without. Unable to crawl out its roots, stay cold and sprout. So it's pretty noticeable. Another set of bounce down vocals that I have going through a phaser and a multiband compressor. And those sound like this. And some of the additional layers that you're hearing are actually coming from the helix. This rotating, kind of like alien sound. And this was actually a clean patch from the helix, which has like some slow tremolo. The panning motion comes from this plugin called Brower Motion. It's like going around. And then to add some grit, I got this distortion plugin from Cubase to give it that like crisp. And below there's like this radar sound, which is completely out of the box from the helix, and it's nothing, it's just a little embellishment. Right? So those two. With everything. Now going into the transition where we head towards the guitar lead line, we have a swell, which sounds like this. And that is actually this next guitar patch. Which are just some octaves going up and down on the fretboard. And what I did is I took the first hit, drowned it in reverb, bounced that, and then reversed it. So we have that lead in. And that builds up like this. So in that section, we also get introduced to another set of layers, which I basically kept the ambient pad and just changed the chords to be. And then below that, we have the more prominent arpeggios, which kind of rise up in distortion and in presence. So that goes like. Starts out kind of subby and blossoms. And below that, we have something that I named descending arps because it's like a synth line that just descends downwards. I doubled that with a different sound. And together with the first descending synth line, accompanied by the other two layers, starts rising. So that rising section with everything playing sounds like. Which leads us to the first guitar lead, which is 100% all helix. This is the only processing that I have going on it. I don't have any inserts or anything like that. So just record it and kept it moving. So to make the last chorus more impactful, I ended up keeping the vocoder type of sound. And to add some more aggressiveness, I added these growls, which I recorded left and right and then bounced down into their own file. And my favorite part out of this whole section is these layers of violins that, again, I am using from Halion Sonic. And I'm just using 2 patches from their latest Iconica sound library, and they sound like this. And so together with everything,